Just last week, I did a video all about the ear cropping process and kind of what's involved in that for both you and your dog. But I think it's important this week that we take a couple steps back and we talk about making that decision to get your dog's ears cropped in the first place. So as most of you probably already know, if you decide to get your Doberman's ears cropped, that means that as an adult, they're going to look something like this. And not cropping your dog's ears means that they'll have that more natural floppy-eared look or something like this. This is one of the earliest major decisions you'll have to make as a new Doberman owner. So which one's right for you and your dog, cropped or uncropped? Today we're going to talk about all the pros and cons to cropping your Doberman's ears so that hopefully it'll make your decision just a little bit easier. Just a quick note, guys, about the legalities of ear cropping, and I mentioned this in my previous video, but I'm going to mention it again real quick because ear cropping is not legal everywhere, so this might make your decision a whole lot easier. Now, the ear cropping laws seem to kind of always be changing. It's also not always as simple as just whether it's legal or illegal where you live with ear cropping. There's a whole lot of other factors that can come into play, like if it's a medical necessity for your dog to have their ears cropped, or if they're a working dog, and so on. So even if this map that's on your screen right now shows that it's legal in your country, still do your own research and check your local laws to confirm whether it's legal where you live. Now for the pros and cons of getting your Doberman's ears cropped. Now, some of these arguments might apply to your specific situation and others may not. So, make sure you think these through and make sure see if they actually apply to you or they don't. Now, some of the reasons why you might get your dog's ears cropped. These are the arguments for ear cropping that I hear all the time from people. Now, the first one is Carl Frederick Louis Doberman, the creator of this breed, who started the Doberman breed so many years ago back in Germany. His original dogs had the cropped ears. And a lot of diehard Doberman fanatics will feel that they're not paying homage to the creator of the breed if they don't have the dog in the original image that he had his dogs in. So that's one reason. And also, in the United States anyway, the breed standard for the Doberman Pinscher is a dog with cropped ears. So if you have a Doberman without cropped ears, you're technically outside the breed standard and you won't be able to compete in any AKC conformation shows. And quite frankly, you almost never see a Doberman without cropped ears in the US anymore. So your dog may not even be necessarily identified as a Doberman by passerbys if they don't have the cropped ears in the US, and a lot of times they're mistaken for a whole nother breed. Another reason would be if they're doing guard work, and this is one of the reasons Louis Doberman originally had his dogs with the cropped ears, because it is one less handhold for someone to grab a hold of the dog and control the dog during an attack or a protection type incident. And again, that's one of the reasons that the original creator of the breed had his dog's ears cropped. Some people also say it helps with sound localization to have them cropped as opposed to having the floppy ears so it can determine direction. Again, that would be something valuable for protection work. There is higher airflow through the ears when the ears are cropped, and some say that that helps prevent ear infections. Now, I will absolutely concede that ear infections are not a big problem with the Doberman breed at all, so that may be a minimal benefit, if at all, really. Another one would be just the more intimidating look of the alert, stoic Doberman with the ears pointing up and being able to be quickly identified as a Doberman. It's that can be important for guard work or protection, or even just a deterrence for a family dog to deter someone from maybe doing something bad to you or your family. If they can be quickly identified as a Doberman, most people know that they don't want to mess with that kind of dog. There's also less damage possible to the ears if the dog's running through thick brush. So if you're going to be out hunting or hiking or whatever through thick brush, having the ears cropped lessens the chance of any damage to the ears. A lot of people tend to have a moral objection to doing this to the dogs. And one of the last very common arguments I hear all the time for doing it is that we very often, without even thinking about it, remove dew claws on the dogs, dock the tail, spay or neuter the dogs. And spay or neutering the dogs has potentially long-term health effects on the dogs, whereas ear cropping does not. And ear cropping is a far less invasive surgery than spay or neutering. So that is the arguments that you'll often hear for ear cropping. Now for the reasons why you may not want to get your dog's ears cropped, even if it's legal in your country. These are the arguments against ear cropping. Now, number one, all surgeries carry risks. There's a risk of complications, the risk of infections, the risk of general anesthesia can be a real risk to anybody, a person or a dog, going into surgery. So those are risks, and you got to decide whether or not that is something that you want to subject your dog to. Also, there is some discomfort in the process, just like with any surgery. And the surgery itself, I really don't think there's any discomfort because the dog's knocked out completely if done by a reputable vet. But the wrapping and the rewrapping can be uncomfortable. It can be annoying for the dog to have the ear posts there. The first time taking out the stitches can potentially be painful. So that is the biggest objection of a lot of people, is putting your dog through some of that stuff when it's not medically necessary. And I think it's fair to say that 9 times out of 10, ear cropping is not medically necessary. There are some situations where when the dog's ears get damaged, that cropping the ears can be recommended by a vet for medical reasons, but that's pretty uncommon. The other one is just that it's a huge time commitment. Wrapping the ears every couple days and unwrapping them for 4 to 8 months, that's a big time commitment. You got to make sure that you're willing to do that. And cleaning the ears every time, it's a lot of care and attention that takes. And you have to decide if you're willing to go through all this and put your dog through this just for a potentially cosmetic only procedure. Other arguments are that it reduces a dog's body language and communication with other dogs, because ears and the ears positions and the ears movements is a big part of how a dog communicates with other animals and with its owners and other people. Also, another reason you may not want to get your dog's ears cropped is just for the softer look, especially if you're going for like a therapy dog or a service dog of any kind. Having the softer look of the floppy ears might be a good thing. The dog will look more approachable. They'll get better reactions from people in public. And there's just overall less fear around a Doberman with floppy ears, which actually can work really in the dog's advantage, especially if they have a run-in with animal control or law enforcement. Having the floppy ears, having the dog perceived as a little less threatening could go a long way to make sure that dog's handled a little bit gentler. Other reasons why you may not want to get your dog's ears cropped is just that it's not always successful. Sometimes you'll go through this whole process and you still won't get maybe one ear to stand, and you might have one upright and one floppy, and that might just be how the dog is for the rest of his life. So it's not always 100% successful. I mean, it usually is, but not always. So that's something you got to keep in mind. And the last reason is just the judgment from others. A lot of times other people, other vets, will judge you for getting your dog's ears cropped, and that happens quite often. So you have to decide if that's something you're okay with and you're willing to have. So those are the arguments against getting your dog's ears cropped. A quick tip for you guys who are looking for a Doberman puppy in the US, if you've decided on that natural ear look, make sure you let your breeder know as early as possible, because in America, ear cropping is so incredibly common that a lot of breeders will just crop all their dog's ears even before they go to the new home. They'll usually do this between 7 to 9 weeks of age. So if you want the natural look on your puppy, tell your breeder ahead of time. Otherwise, you might just end up with a cropped eared dog. Now, if you want to learn more about the ear cropping procedure in general, take a look at this video. It should be popping up right here in the corner of your screen somewhere right about now. In that video, I talk about what kind of levels of discomfort your dog will feel throughout the process, both during the procedure and afterwards. And I also talk about what kind of aftercare you as an owner will be responsible for if you decide to do this. This is really good information to know if you're still kind of on the fence and you're still trying to decide if cropping your dog's ears is right for you and your dog. And before you take off, why don't you check out some of my other videos on YouTube as well. Just scroll on up to the top of this page in that search bar there, type in Doberman Planet, hit search, and spend a little time going through some of my videos so you can learn a lot about this amazing breed that is the Doberman. Honestly, I don't know why so many people use the words binge watch like it's a bad thing. Also, just a quick shout out to my subscribers. Guys, I love you guys. You've been so awesome lately. You've done everything from helping me through the loss of my dog, which is a really tough situation, through just giving me great topic ideas for future videos. You've given me awesome facts about Dobermans, and sent me on these different tangents on my research, and where I found amazing things to share with all the people out on YouTube, thanks to you. All the way through just rooting me on. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much to my subscribers. And if you're not a subscriber, why don't you join in, hit that subscribe button down below, hit the bell icon that comes up next to it, and hey, while you're down there, hit the like button. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.